Your first opportunity to see a home more than likely is online. So your photos are the first thing that people are seeing on Zillow, Redfin, Trulia, and a vacant home doesn't show very well.
Hello and welcome to episode 256 of the Smart Agents Podcast. As always, my name is Michael Walter and I'll be your host. On today's episode, I'm joined by Tabatha Petersen, Managing Director at Green Couch Staging and Design. With more than 23 years as the San Francisco Bay Area's premier staging firm, Green Couch helps agents transform homes into spaces that captivate buyers and sell faster. Throughout our conversation, we explore how staging creates emotional connections, debunk common misconceptions that keep sellers from investing in it, and break down simple design choices that deliver maximum ROI. But before we get on with the day's featured interview, if you or someone else on your team has an incredible story of real estate success or tips to share with our community, send us a message to feedback@smartagents.com. We're always on the lookout for guests to inspire our listeners. And lastly, if you enjoy this conversation and want to hear more, be sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents Podcast. We stream on all major podcasting platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. All right, let's get into our conversation with Tabatha Petersen. If you're interested in learning more about home staging or Green Couch, be sure to check out the links in the episode description. Really, the way I like to start everything out is if you could just introduce yourself to us a little bit. Tell us who you are and where you are joining us from.
Yes. So my name is Tabatha Petersen. I'm the Managing Director at Green Couch Staging and Design in San Francisco, California. And I'm really excited to be a guest today.
Awesome. Well, what was it that got you initially, interested in the home staging and in this field of work?
I have been in this real estate circle for over 15 years. I started with developers doing residential new development condo buildings. And throughout the years, did a lot of jobs, project management, marketing, and design with these developers. And through all of that, it landed me here at Green Couch, leading staging. Design is such a passion of mine, and an opportunity presented itself a couple years ago, and here I am.
Awesome. So, before we kind of really get into the psychology behind staging and, what it does for, a listing, tell me what it is, that differentiates Green Couch from, maybe some of the other staging companies or firms out there.
Well, I'd like to think we're the best of the best in the Bay Area. We have been in business for 23 years, which says a lot about our principal, Jeff Schlarb, and the business he's built, the clientele that he's accumulated over the years. We have a lot of top agents that we've worked with from the very beginning. I think what really makes us different, first and foremost, our team is incredible. We have top-notch customer service, white glove service. We also are constantly updating our inventory. We've got the best of the best. We offer live plant programs versus the, silk plants that a lot of staging companies use. We take care of those weekly. We have an in-house artist that creates beautiful canvas pieces. So we really look at the details and are always looking at ways to customize and step up our service.
Right. So when it comes to home staging, talk to me a little bit about, I think, when anybody's, maybe the average agent out there that maybe doesn't have a whole lot of experience with the home staging, maybe there's, some misconceptions about it, or, that they're just not totally sure of how it works or how it could work for the listing. Kind of maybe walk through some of the misconceptions of home staging that you've kind of seen throughout your career.
I think staging costs money. A lot of times sellers and realtors are challenged with getting sellers to spend money on staging. Right. But really, I believe, even based on all of our numbers and stats, you're losing money by not staging. When your first opportunity to see a home more than likely is online. So your photos are the first thing that people are seeing on Zillow, Redfin, Trulia. And a vacant home doesn't show very well. So that's your first missed opportunity. When a home is staged, people now visualize. They can see where the TV goes, or sometimes you've got awkward spaces or windows that have views that aren't the most ideal. So staging really helps set the tone and the stage as soon as somebody walks into that home, and creates that emotional connection with it. In addition, based on all of our numbers, homes sell for a higher price point and in less amount of days. So it's a win every way you look at it to add the staging component.
Right. And I think that has to definitely go back to that whole idea of, the buyers, when they're looking at the listing, they can envision themselves in that home that has the furniture as opposed to the empty space. I know sometimes, the house I'm in now, my wife and I, we built it from the ground up, and it was really hard, at first, when it was just, the studs to figure out where everything was. And the same goes for, just an empty living room. It's hard to imagine where things could go in that.
Right. Does the primary bedroom fit a king or a queen size bed?
Right.
Where am I going to put that headboard? Especially if you've got lots of doors and windows in that room, just really how we make these spaces not only beautiful, but we show you functionally how to use these spaces.
Yeah. When it comes to, staging a home, how do you find the right kind of feel for that home to, because the buyer profile could be a little bit different. And how do you, find that perfect fit for that home?
You ask a lot of questions. So our project managers are the ones going out and initially getting those walkthroughs and proposals done, working with those top realtors and or sellers. But there's a lot of questions that need to be asked along the way. The realtors should have a pretty good idea of who the demographic they're targeting is. So that's a really good start there. You're also looking at the architecture of the home, the neighborhood that this sits in. And from there, we ask our questions, we do our own due diligence, and then come up with a plan. Because not every home or neighborhood is going to have the same aesthetic and need and desire. So you might have a neighborhood that you absolutely need 1 or 2 bedrooms for kids. You might have another neighborhood that's, a younger demographic, very urban, chic, and maybe you implement a place for pets instead.
Awesome. When, having those conversations, it's kind of cool. I think it has to be really fun for the team to be able to kind of build these, it's almost like, the adult size, dollhouse that you're getting to put the furniture in and really kind of build this, this life inside this home.
Well, what's really cool is to see an empty space transform within a matter of 1 to 4 days. So, some of our homes, 1 and 2 bedrooms, we do in a day, easy. But we work on some of the biggest properties in the Bay Area. So, we'll have 7-bedroom homes listed for $25 million. And those ones take a little more time, love, and effort on the inside. And then also, we do a lot of outdoor furniture as well. So you've got to connect the inside with the out. Our team also works on improvements. So anything cosmetic, we can handle that from start to finish, as long as there's no permits involved. So we'll work on things like, carpeting, flooring, new kitchen cabinets. It's really cool. Light fixtures. We have a really good time.
Awesome. Well, and, when you're approaching, or when the agents that you're working with is approaching their sellers on doing this, because, I have to imagine, the 7-bedroom home, it's not something you can turn over right away. But, having them pump the brakes for a couple days, get everything set and really, show ready. I have to imagine that then, as they start to see everything coming in and come to life, they really kind of get the vision for it.
Yes. I would say probably 80% of our clients really trust the process, and our realtors. And again, a lot of them we've worked with for many years. So a lot of them will trust the process. They know what we can do. And then you get 15 to 20% that they're on site every day. They're asking a lot of questions. Our goal is always to complete rooms as best as possible versus piecemealing throughout the house. If you put a dresser in one room and a sofa in another room, it's really hard for people to understand what you're doing. And there's so much layering involved. So the more complete you can make a room by the end of each day, the better.
Yeah. When it comes kind of designing the room and kind of figuring out how to kind of display a lifestyle in the home, how much of that conversation is with the homeowner as well? not just the real estate agent, but how they kind of lived in the house, and what maybe some of the community, what their demographic and stuff is like.
Sure. I would like, I would say there are certain homeowners that absolutely want to be involved. There's a lot that they want to share, but also it's kind of letting go of their home and their lifestyle and really recreating something new. Having our vision come into play and letting go of what was. So even if a homeowner lived there a certain way, there might be a whole new way to do it. So we don't ask too many questions about what they were doing and how they did it when they were living there, because we're kind of coming in with a whole fresh set of eyes. We're really good at what we do. And again, we do ask a lot of questions up front, mostly with the real estate agent, and then we work our magic.
Right. What talk to me about how over the 23 years that Green Couch has been doing this, over that time, AI has become a really big thing, and the virtual stagings and all those. Talk to me about how that's kind of impacted what you guys do, and how how it's changed how you work with clients.
Well, especially being in the Bay Area, AI is everywhere.
Right.
Every billboard when I'm driving into work is another AI billboard. We virtual staging or renderings were really important during COVID. I think they had a wonderful place and time there. I think that homes that are $1 million or less, the seller might opt to do the virtual renderings. At the price points that we're working at, I think virtual renderings could be a nice tool to have as you're talking through design with the clients, but they let people down, really, because you get into that space and it's still really hard to imagine what you're supposed to do. I mean, I would say probably 10-15% of people can really understand spaces that are empty. So while AI is great, and we are looking into opportunities where we implement virtual staging, just kind of to get ahead of design and have that conversation and really nail it. We don't do a ton with that right now. I mean, do we use like Chat GPT for communication and marketing? Absolutely. That is our friend right now.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And I think, I think there's definitely a place for the virtual staging, certain price points, and, certain markets where, maybe the margins are a little bit, smaller. But like you said, if I'm looking at these listing photos and I see, all this furniture and kind of the lifestyle that is portrayed in the photos, and then as a buyer, I show up to the home and it doesn't look anything like that,
Yeah.
it can be off-putting, and like you said, very difficult to wrap my brain around,
Yes.
how these different rooms should, can fit.
I mean, I've even had agents where, they'll have printed photos of the renderings or putting it up on a phone board, on the wall, but it doesn't translate the way that actual furniture does. So most times you're going to lose out on money if you don't have staging. And there's a lot of stagers out there. There's a stager for everybody. There's all different price points. If you're on a massive budget, there are stagers out there for you. We tend to be a little bit on the higher end of the spectrum simply because of the services, the layering, the quality inventory, the custom artwork, those types of things that we offer.
Yeah. When it, as time goes on and trends change, I have to imagine that your designers have to really on top of, emerging trends and what, is kind of moving the needle for your buyer base. So, what's that like, going and kind of procuring all of these, pieces of furniture?
We're constantly keeping our finger on the pulse. We're always buying new inventory. And trends come and go. So we try not to get too trendy so that, the pieces last a little bit longer. And we're really designing for the masses, right? Overall, our pieces, they work for quite some time. And then you change some of the layering pieces up, like maybe it's the accessories or the art or the throw blankets, the way that we're presenting plants, almost like art on tabletops. There's little things that we can do along the way, so that we're not constantly having to buy new sofas to chase trends. I think a trend for quite some time, especially here in the Bay Area, has been like whites and taupes and almost kind of very muted. And we're finding that everyone's kind of getting out of that requirement now, and they're wanting a little more character, which we're really, really good at. So we're kind of excited to have agents coming back to us saying, let's try something else. Let's see what you got. So,
right. How it, in the Bay Area with the tech industry and everything, did over the last several years, was the kind of the work from home office, was that something that you really worked on and staged those spaces, or was that something that was kind of already in the market?
We definitely are always looking at that as an opportunity now. So even if it's they really don't have the space to do that, how do we make a flex space or have it where it's a bedroom and you can still work from that space? It is a very important part of the workforce and what they need in these homes up here. So we're always looking at opportunities for some kind of an office desk space to do some work where it's not your dining room table or your sofa.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and talking about that particular price point, I've had an agent on from the Jackson Hole market, and sells just massive ranches and crazy homes there. And he is a photographer himself, and he does all of his own listing stuff. And I think it's really interesting when you get into certain price points, really showcasing the lifestyle that the home can offer. And, he would do that through his photos. And I think through, the home staging part of it, being able to show not just how a room and how furniture can fit into the room, but the different lifestyles and the things that this space can afford you, I think is really cool, especially in that price point that you're working in.
Absolutely. And we're here to do an array of that. Is it a kind of more bachelorette pad, very urban by the baseball stadium? We can do that. Is it a loft? Is it a beautiful large home on the other side of town where you've got a lot of family, that a lot of kids and family that will be staying there? You're going to be entertaining a lot. So we've got a lot of inventory, layering accessories to make that happen.
Yeah. What, for maybe the agents that are listening to this that, don't have the clients that are going to be able to, do a big, staging package. What are some of those things that they can do to, help, maybe again, not real big packages, but, some of those best return on investment type, maybe spaces to stage or pieces to bring in?
Yeah. So at our company, we actually offer partial stagings. So sometimes we'll go in and just do like the living, dining, primary bedroom. So that still gives you that opportunity in those really important spaces, to make that impact, especially as you're walking in that front door, right? Your living, dining, those are really, really important pieces to stage or parts of the home to stage. And then like the primary bedroom and bathroom. I think that as long as you have those, that definitely makes an impact. Of course, we'd like to do the whole house, right? But if you had to select a few key locations, those would be my recommendations.
Yeah, I guess, pick those areas that, are going to be the most heavily used spaces in the homes. Yeah, definitely. What, kind of going back to the psychology side of things, how much do you guys, kind of really getting into the mind of the homeowner and the buyer that is coming? And do you have almost like different avatars of people that you kind of stage for, or just kind of keep in mind when you're building this?
Sure. I wouldn't say we have avatars, but yes, part of our job is to look at like who is going to be in this home. So are we doing a beautifully painted canvas art piece? Or are we going to do a black and white large photo of Tina Turner? or Mick Jagger, or like those are, or what colors are we going to be using? Do we need it to be really soft and like just very serene, or do we want to have a packet with a punch? So that is part of our due diligence when we're doing that initial walkthrough, asking the right questions with the realtor, getting as much information up front, because they've already done a lot of that work. In terms of researching and putting together like what the list price is going to be and what that whole strategy to launch is. So because they've already done a lot of that work, they're our best resource, and together we always try and nail it.
Yeah. You mentioned it a couple times, and I think it's really interesting, the in-house artist, and you talk about bringing in these photos of the Tina Turners and the Mick Jaggers. And I think when people think about staging, they don't think of that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the art pieces and, those kind of mood setters. What's that? I mean, when you do bring in pieces like that into a home, what's been the reaction, that some of the homeowners, when they see that, that kind of art brought into their home?
I mean, sometimes, the homeowners say, gosh, we want to move back in here, which always makes us feel really good. On occasion, we've had people ask to purchase some of our custom pieces, or the realtor wants to gift it to the new buyer because it fits perfectly in the space, because we do those custom pieces for some of these homes that we really need to like make it impactful and get that whole feeling and vibe put into some art pieces. So sometimes they end up staying with the home, which is really cool. The other thing that I think is really unique is the live plant program that we offer. Fake silk plants, for us, that's not how we like to work. We come in every week, we water the plants, we've got them everywhere, they look gorgeous. Another layering element that we do for our realtor community is we offer a beverage scent and sound program. So this is something we launched earlier this year. We were thinking of realtors, and there's so many things that you have to do getting ready for an open house. So instead of having to bring in the drinks and the speaker and the candle or whatever, we provide that when we do the staging. So you open that refrigerator and you've got a whole array of beautifully stacked flat water, sparkling waters, things like of that nature. And then we bring in a speaker that already has an MP3 player loaded with playlists for you, so that you don't have to connect your phone or worry if you're too far away from the speaker with your phone that it's going to disconnect or a call's going to. We're just always thinking of ways how we can be the best partners for our realtor community, because really they're our primary clients.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, really setting that mood for when somebody walks into a home, I think that's really awesome. And yeah, the scent and the music playlist is really cool. What for the live plants, I think that is awesome, because you can tell like the silk plants, they look so dated now. It looks like something I'd go into my grandmother's house that she would still have.
They have come a long way. I will say they have come a long way. And I get it. Plants, to maintain plants, it's a lot of work. We just happen to have an awesome plant tech team that goes in weekly and takes care of everything. But I do find there's even energy associated with live plants, and wellness is a really big thing for people. So it's just another added, to me, wellness element in that home. Yeah, and it brings joy.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me about, maybe give me a particular example of a home that, you guys really, that maybe the homeowners weren't 100% on board with doing a staging, but you wowed them and you really, got them a big return on that investment.
I'm trying to think of an example of where the sellers weren't necessarily on board.
We're not necessarily on board, but maybe took a little bit of extra,
a little extra nudging
prodding.
And finessing. Yeah, a lot of that is through, like, our project managers work really closely with the sellers and the realtors. So it's almost like a team effort, right? We work with the realtor. They might let us know, hey, their budget is this. They only want to do this. on the improvement side, I could use your support so that we actually get the whole house painted versus just the entry. So we're really working as a partnership and getting that conversation aligned ahead of time. And then we go in kind of together, or the realtor says, hey, good luck. And we go in and say, here's the value, here's the benefit, here's why this is the way to go. And a lot of times they trust us. They trust the process. We've got 23 years to prove why it works. So we share a beautiful lookbook that gets updated every quarter just to show like these are improvement projects with before and afters of what we've done. These are staged homes similar to yours. And this is the impact. And then we come in with numbers like we just had a home sell in 4 days, 100,000 over asking. That just happened. A few weeks ago, we had another home that we staged, beautiful home, listed for 13.5 and ended up selling for 17 million. It went pending in 2 days. So it's also us having that information and those details as to why this works and why we're the team to do it.
Yeah. You mentioned, not just the staging, but the improvements and how your team will go in and do the painting and the carpet. What are some of those things, some of those best, things to improve for, the quick, return on your investment and the biggest impact when somebody walks into a home?
So I would say paint. Yeah. I think paint is the number one thing that makes such a difference for people. The other thing I would say is carpet. Yeah. I think carpet a lot of times, whether it's the texture or sometimes it smells or looks really dated. I think those two things really, really make the biggest impact if you had to choose to.
Yeah, definitely. I think, paint, like you said, you're not, we're not selling the home that you lived in and your lifestyle. I know my wife, she's big, she likes her dark accent wall in our room, but you walk into it and it's like one of those things like, not everybody's going to like this. We're going to, so.
And especially if you've got, no furniture or new furniture that doesn't really speak to that paint color. What we've been doing a lot right now too is just coming in and color drenching a room. I think that that's a really big thing right now, whether it's like a den or a bedroom where you just have like a beautifully from top to bottom, just color drenched in a beautiful like blue hue or green, or right now the Pantone color of the year is mocha mousse. It's a really great opportunity, and that we've been having a good time with color drenching rooms.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Luckily our wall, it is a nice, dark, soothing blue. So it's not crazy, but
it's not bright yellow or electric pink.
Oh God, no. We looked in one house and it had like the hottest hot pink, just one wall in the dining room. Like, what is this? Like, I'm not living here. I don't even want to it was too much for me, and I knew I could paint over it, but I just wanted to be out of there so fast.
Yeah. Well, and then you talk about how emotionally colors make people feel, right? Whether it's paint or the patterns that we're using, the color of furniture. It's all very much mind blowing, and it's so fun doing the work that we do and just making it make sense and doing it beautifully.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if somebody's listening to this, maybe that's in the Bay Area, how can they get in contact with you? And for all the people that are not in the Bay Area, where can they find and learn more about, home staging and things from you guys?
Absolutely. So our website is www.greencouch.com. We've got a lot of great photos on there, and you can contact us there. And then if you want to check out our Instagram, we've got... We keep that updated and active all the time. That's greencouch_design.
Awesome. Well, yeah, it's definitely, it's one of those things regardless of where somebody's at in the country. I'm sure looking at your Instagram pages and everything like that, they can get a really good idea of things that they can do with their own listings.
Get some inspiration. Follow us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, I really do appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.
I really want to thank Tabatha again for joining us today and sharing her insights into the power of staging. From luxury estates to partial staging on a budget, her strategies show just how impactful thoughtful design can be when it comes to selling homes quickly and for top dollar. If you'd like to connect with or explore Green Couch's work, I've included links in the episode description. So once again, if you think you or someone else on your team has an incredible story or tips to share with our community, send us a message to feedback@smartagents.com. Well, that wraps things up for this episode, but remember, follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Again, I'm Michael Walter, and we'll see you on the next episode.